everybody, it's Sam here from Sugar's Fun Run, and today I'll be showing you how to make these soft and chewy brown sugar cookies. If you guys have made any of my other cookie recipes in the past, you may have already caught on to the fact that I love using brown sugar. The reason for this is that brown sugar imparts a really great flavor in your cookies. It makes them nice and soft and chewy, so I always like to use more brown sugar than white sugar. Well, for today's brown sugar cookie recipe, we are going to be using all brown sugar, and these cookies are everything you could ever want. They are so soft and so chewy and so full of flavor. So let's get started. The first thing that you'll need for these cookies is 1 cup of melted unsalted butter. Now, because the butter gets pretty hot when you are microwaving it, what you're going to want to do is melt the butter and let it cool for at least 10 to 15 minutes before you proceed with this recipe. This is important because if your butter is too hot when you add your sugar, it'll actually melt your sugar. You'll end up with a runny, greasy dough. Your cookies will spread all over the place. So to avoid this, let your butter cool before proceeding. Now, I prepped my butter a little bit in advance, so mine's cooled. It's pretty much at room temperature now. Now we can add our sugar. This recipe calls for 1 3/4 cups of tightly packed dark brown sugar. If you don't have dark brown sugar on hand, you can get away with using light brown sugar, but this dark sugar has a really nice flavor, so I recommend using it. We'll add this to our melted butter. We'll just give this a good stir until everything's nicely combined. This brown sugar cookie recipe uses 1 large egg and 1 large egg yolk. The reason we're adding this extra yolk is because it's also going to help make our cookies nice and soft and chewy. With the brown sugar and the cornstarch we're going to be adding and our extra egg yolk, these are going to be really nice soft cookies. Now, for best results, you will want your eggs to be at room temperature before adding them to your butter and sugar mixture. Add 1 1/2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. With our wet ingredients well combined, we'll set this aside and we'll prepare our dry ingredients. You will need 2 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour for this recipe. We are also going to add some cornstarch, as I mentioned earlier. We're going to add a tablespoon of cornstarch, and as I mentioned, this is going to help make our cookies soft and chewy. We will also add 3/4 teaspoon of baking soda, a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, and 3/4 teaspoon of salt. Stir these together really well until your dry ingredients are well combined. We're going to add our flour mixture into our wet batter, and we're going to do this a little bit at a time. I usually like to add the flour in about 3 or 4 parts, gradually stirring it into the wet ingredients until everything is well combined. Now that we have our dough mixed together, we are going to need to transfer it to our fridge to chill. You'll want to chill this dough for about 30 minutes to an hour, at least for 30 minutes, because if you try to bake it too soon, your cookies will just spread and they'll be way too flat, and that's not what we want. I am going to cover this dough with cling wrap. About 10 to 15 minutes before your dough is finished chilling, you'll want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Once your cookie dough has chilled, now we can go ahead and roll it into our cookie dough balls. I like to use a 1 1/2 tablespoon sized cookie scoop for this, and I like to scoop my cookie dough by a heaping scoop. You'll want to roll this cookie dough in your palms to form it into a ball. And then we're going to roll it in some coarse sugar. Now, if you don't have coarse sugar on hand, I'm using an organic cane sugar just because it has large, pretty sugar crystals. You can just use regular granulated sugar. That will work just as well. I tried this recipe rolling it in brown sugar. The thing about brown sugar is it doesn't really stick to the exterior quite as well, so I do use regular sugar or cane sugar for this recipe. Now we will bake these brown sugar cookies in our 350 degree Fahrenheit preheated oven for about 11 to 13 minutes. One important thing about keeping these cookies nice and soft and chewy is that you do not want to overbake them. What you're looking for to tell that they're done is edges that are just slightly golden brown, and if the cracks in the center of the cookies still look a little bit underdone, that's totally fine. Let your cookies cool completely on the baking sheet. This is going to allow them to finish baking without overcooking them, and that is how you're going to get really nice and soft cookies. So these cookies have had a little while to cool, so let's take a look. They are so pretty with their nice sparkly exteriors, and I love these cookies, guys. They are so soft and chewy. I think you're really going to love them. I hope you'll try this recipe out for yourself, and if you enjoy it, please leave me a comment and tell me what you think. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.